Hello, and welcome to Learning Access 2013. My name is Mike Henry, and this is the first video from Tutorial 5. In this video, we're going to look at a pattern match. You'll also hear it called a like query, and we're going to learn what the value of a wildcard is. So we're going to see that a wildcard is a symbol that can represent, if it's an asterisk, many characters, or if it's a question mark, one character. This query that we're looking at now is called patient list, and you can see we see a list of patients, and right now we're seeing them just from the city of Bloomfield. So when we go back to the design view, we look here and we see the word Bloomfield is in the criteria of the city section, so we know this is an exact match query. We're seeing exactly what we want. Now, if someone were to come to us and say, well, I'd like to see anyone who lives in a city that starts with HAR, if I put in here HAR and then go view this, what I immediately see is that there's nobody in a city called HAR. It turned this into an exact match query. Now, what we're really saying is I want something that begins with an H, an A, and an R, but after that there could be a set of letters or a lot of letters. So we are going to use a wildcard. A wildcard is basically a symbol that can represent, in this case, a large set of characters, so we use the asterisk, or one of the other commonly used wildcards is called the question mark. The question mark represents one character. In this case we wouldn't use a question mark because we want to represent a whole bunch of characters. So when I go and run this query or view this query, you can see I come up with a bunch of Hartfords. I come up with a bunch of Hartfords here because they all start with HAR. Now when we go back and look at our criteria section here, and I'm just going to pop this up into a larger size so people can see it a little bit better on the screen, basically what we see is the word like in the beginning, and then we have the HAR and the asterisk inside of quotes. So it's basically saying take these three letters, HAR, and then any number of letters or numbers or characters behind it and show us anything that looks like this. So this is called a pattern match. I'm trying to match a pattern, HAR. Now it's also known as a like query. Okay? So you'll hear people call this a like query, or you'll hear it called a pattern match. So as we look at this particular pattern match, you can see we're looking for HAR. Now I'm going to take this out of there and I'm going to put in a different type of pattern. I'm going to put in an asterisk, I'm going to put in an HAR, and then I'm going to put in an asterisk. So basically now what I'm asking for is you can have letters in front of the HAR and you can have letters behind the HAR. So anything that has HAR in it. So now what you see is I get the Hartfords and I get the West Hartfords. I'm allowed to have the West Hartfords now because that can have characters behind it. So this gives me that capability. This is called a pattern match, or you'll also hear it called a like query. So we've looked at using the asterisk, which is the wildcard that gave us the any amount of letters before the H and the any amount of letters after the R, which allowed us to see Hartford and West Hartfords. But let's take a look at another wildcard character here. This will allow me to narrow my search down. An asterisk gives me a real wide search range. A question mark narrows down my search. So here under zip code, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I would like to have anyone who's starting with a 0611, but then I'm going to put a question mark in here. So this can represent one digit in this zip code. I could have a 0, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I've narrowed it down to just giving me the last digits here. And when I go to view this, you can see that I've got the 114, the 112, and it looks like a 117 area codes that are in here. So this narrowed my search down, and it gives me a much better way to look at my data. If I had wanted a really wide search, I might have decided to go show me everyone in the 0, 6, and an asterisk, and then I would have got a lot more zip codes in here. So the question mark allows us to narrow down our focus and get fewer records and get to exactly what we want for information quicker. So in this video we looked at the pattern match or the like query. We learned that basically we're not trying for an exact match anymore. We just know a couple letters and we want to know what are the possible results of this. And we played with wildcards. So we used an asterisk, which could represent many characters, or we can use a narrowing one, a question mark, which will represent one character. The question mark narrows our search down, we get fewer returns. The asterisk widens our search and we get lots of returns.